You are listening to Unequaled with JC Carroll and Ajay Salveson. But first, our friends, the Painted Roses.
Hi, welcome to another edition of the Unequaled podcast here. Thanks for listening. Thanks for tuning in. Got a really exciting episode ahead. But first, we're at Abode and Code Real Estate. Best place to get your real estate business done. Located at 1835 Main Street. Larry, Janice, Tony will take really good care of you. If you guys are looking at or in the market for a home or even thinking about being in the market for a home, no better people to go to. Go to Abode and Code Real Estate at 1835 Main Street or call them at 435-227-6913. Again, that's 435-227-6913. In fact, they're talking about doing it. So, of course, Larry's going to be in Vegas for the Mountain West Conference men's basketball tournament. If you see Larry, if you're listening to this podcast and you see Larry this weekend at the men's basketball tournament, go to him, shake his hand, say, you listen to the Unequaled podcast, and Larry will give you a gift card. Again, if you see Larry Bradley at the Thomas & Mack Center in Sin City, Las Vegas, Nevada, and you say, hey, I've been listening to the Unequaled podcast, and they told me if I shake your hand, I get a gift card, he will take care of you. Again, that's Larry Bradley at Abode & Co Real Estate. Get a hold of them, and again, get your real estate needs taken care of by them. This is one of my most exciting podcasts, or our exciting podcast. JC Carroll, gone, not dead, alive, but not forgotten. He'll be with us in the next podcast, but to me, it's just, this is going to be fun. Head coach of Utah State Soccer, coming off a terrific season. Mountain West Coach of the Year, led an incredible defense with Kelsey Kafusi, who's your Mountain West Defensive Player of the Year, beat BYU on Chuck and Gloria Belfield, the number one ranked team in the country. That was the first win over the number one ranked team in the country in program history. Manny also set a program record in the Mountain West Conference in wins in his first season at 7-1-1. He also, as I mentioned, Coach of the Year, led his team to their first ever Mountain West Conference championship, and of course their third ever NCAA tournament appearance, playing BYU again. And he joins us here on Unequaled. Coach, thank you so much. It is so good to see you. Congratulations on all your success.
Well, thank you. Thanks for having me. As you're listing all of those accomplishments, I couldn't help but think about all the people that go into helping us get to some of these accomplishments, and I couldn't take credit for all of it without mentioning, Aaron and Michelle and Ashley and all of our support system, like our athletic trainer Riley and our strength coach Cherie and our administration. It's a labor of love, and it takes a village. And as much fun it's been, I know I get to be the point person, but it wouldn't happen without all these people.
Coach, I know you have the blinders on. Like, you're always just laser focused on what is ahead. But do you ever just take a chance to step back, look at that 2023 year and think, my gosh, look what we accomplished together?
Yeah, it's years ago a friend told me, sometimes you have to look back to see how far you've come. And I really took that to heart. And yeah, we're very much all gas, no brakes, but we do take some certain moments to look back and make sure that we appreciate and enjoy, because we tell the players, enjoy it because this goes by fast. So I've been working on being better at taking a moment to come up for air, enjoying it. And yes, when I look back, what an incredible season with some incredible people. And now it's, trying to build to put ourselves in a position to try to do it again.
When you say you look back, I want to ask you, where did it start for you? I mean, where did actually, let's even go back further. Where did the love of soccer start? Was it when you were a kid? I mean, and you were playing for years? How did it all come about?
Oh gosh, yeah. It starts as far back as I can remember myself. The soccer was always there. I remember, playing in the streets in Lisbon where I grew up, and I remember my grandma used to trick me to come into the house and lock the door because I wanted to just stay out and play with my friends. I used to go to school, and and this is not by any means advice to any younger people out there listening, but I used to go to school and skip class and stay outside and play soccer. So the love for the game has been there for as long as I can remember myself, and I feel very fortunate that in some ways I'm still playing, right? I'm not truly playing, but I'm still involved in the game, and I get to wake up every day and still look forward to soccer.
When did your coaching career start? Where did it start?
So coaching career started back in 1998 in Sylmar, California, coaching at Sylmar High School, which was my alma mater. And I remember my first season, we went 1-13. I was an assistant coach, and I looked at my head coach Dan, and I told him, "Okay, I'm retiring. This is not for me. 1-13 was just not something I could." I was prepared to deal with at the time. And he actually was a former Marine, so he always called me by my last name. So he looked at me and says, "Martins, just give it one more season." Second season, we finished 500, and I felt a little bit better about it. And then after that, we actually went on to win the conference for like 4 years straight. And then I was hooked.
Hi, this is Karen Nielsen with Guild Mortgage in Logan, Utah. Beyond great rates, we're committed to ongoing customer service even after your loan closes. We want you to experience knowledge, communication, and amazing customer service for a lasting relationship. Make Guild Mortgage your trusted partner.
Yeah.
You come to Utah State in 2021. What brought you to Utah State? Do you remember the interview? What was the conversation like? What was that visit for you like?
Well, it was great. So when the opportunity came up, and I took the visit here, I met with Amy and Jerry, and there were a few other people in that committee, like Bobby, Natalie. And one of the things that it was, and to me, people are really important. The vibe I get from people, and from my interview, everyone felt really genuine. So I enjoyed that, and it seemed like there was a legitimate interest in having women's soccer be elevated. So that was great for me. Those two pieces were a big part of why I made the decision to accept the job and come here. And now, almost 3 years later, I look back and I think it was spot on what my gut feeling was about it. I feel very supportive as a program. We've had everything we needed to be successful. Again, wouldn't be in the position we are right now without that support. But also, I feel like I have a great relationship with our administration, support staff, everyone that was part of that process have actually followed through in the support that they expressed during the interview.
For our audience, where were you before Utah State?
I was at the University of Oregon for 7 years.
It's amazing. And then, so it's Oregon. It's the University of Oregon. You hear Doug's, you hear just facilities and like money, the dollar signs of all sorts to take care of the soccer program there. It's kind of a big jump, right, from Oregon to Utah State and being a head coach here.
Well, it depends on how you look at it, right? I think any change is going to have aspects that are going to be a big jump and aspects that are going to sort of just flow pretty smoothly. I think going into it not knowing, it felt like a big jump because, just my role changes. There's a different level of responsibility, right? The buck stops with me. I have the responsibility of a staff that, what I do and how things work out affects them. Also the responsibility of, trying to, turn a program around, which obviously I wouldn't take the job if I didn't believe all the pieces were here to be able to do it. But there's still the unknown. You still got to come out and do it. So yeah, a big change, but a change that I felt I was ready for, and I was really excited about it. Going back to the people, to the excitement about the program. Over the years, everywhere I've been, whether it was at Oregon, UCLA, and everywhere I've been, we've always recruited Utah. Utah is a hotbed for soccer, and it wasn't easy to get kids out of Utah. The kids from Utah don't want to leave. So from that standpoint, I felt, hey, lots of talent that typically likes to stay in state. So great place to make sure that we have automatically a good in-state recruiting base. And then I also identify areas that I knew that we could impact right away that would help move the needle forward. So it was great.
So you brought this program to an incredible level that it's never seen before. what were some of your goals when you first stepped into this program? What were some of your goals to be able to get this program to be where you wanted it to be?
Yeah, I mean, and everyone is a little bit different. I think, for me, I wouldn't take this position if I didn't truly believe that we could win championships here. But I understand that's hard. Only one team does it every year. So it's very hard. I feel like the odds are always against everyone. So championships was an ultimate desire. I don't want to call it a goal. Our goal was to, one, right away establish an identity. Because I've always believed that long term, you can mold a program to be more of how you want it to be, through recruiting, through teaching, through development. But in a short term, you have to make the most of what you have. And in fairness, I inherited a great group of student athletes with some really great pieces in terms of skill and talent and whatnot, athleticism. So for us was, number one, we needed to understand the team and the players and what they were capable of. Number two, establish an identity, how we're going to play, not stylistically, but what's our personality like? What is are we greedy and tough? Do we play fast? What are we committed to? What are our non-negotiables? And as we did that, it helped us accelerate the process of being competitive and winning. But the goal was really to just establish an identity.
You guys in your first 2 years, and you established that identity pretty well. You guys made it to the conference tournament for the first time in back-to-back years since 2013-14. That second year in the conference tournament, we'll say 22. What did you learn from the first time? Actually, what was your experience the first time in the Mountain West Conference tournament, and what did you take from it going back in your second year in the Mountain West play?
So the first year, it was actually, whenever the season comes to an end, I imagine, unless you win a national championship, it's disappointing in that moment, right? Because doesn't matter how far you go, it always feels like you fell a little bit short. So when we lost in a semifinal in double overtime to the eventual winner, New Mexico, which at the time had been on a run of dominating the Mountain West, in a moment I was disappointed with how the game ended, because I thought it was actually one of our best games of the season. Thought Ashley Cardozo, even though she didn't score in that game, she was the dominant force on the day. We fell behind, came back late to push it into overtime. So I was hopeful that for our players who had worked so hard to get us to that point, that we could continue on. But, it didn't work out that way. But once the dust settled and I was able to really process the game without emotion, it was really, really, exciting to realize that, we had played, the team that at the time was the most dominant team in our conference twice in that season, double overtime. And we felt like we could have won. It didn't work out that for us. So I felt like the future was very bright because we still had a lot of returning talent. And our identity was something that wasn't going to change. So we were only going to get better. So I couldn't wait. Once I kind of looked at that, I was excited about, hitting the ground running in preparation for the following season.
Also in that 28-21 season, foreshadowing things to come, BYU ranked 18th in the country, no big deal to you. You go and beat BYU. Did you get a feeling of what that rivalry is like between BYU and Utah State? Did you get an understanding, or did it take you off guard a little bit?
I didn't fully understand the rivalry between the schools because if I'm honest, at the time there wasn't a rivalry in soccer.
Yeah,
right? We were 0-13 against BYU, but what we did do is we took the same approach we take for every game. We don't really worry about who the opponent is. We like to say that every opponent needs to be faceless and nameless, and so that was our approach. We focused on our scout, our preparation. The things that people don't know on the outside looking in is going into that game, we didn't know if Ashley Cardozo was going to play. She had been sick for 3 days, not even in training. I mean, she was out. And there was no way we were going to keep her out of that game. She did everything she needed to do, came out and played. I can't remember now how many minutes she played, but she played extensive number of minutes. Obviously scored the opening goal, which was great too because it came directly from our scout. It was some specifically that we saw in a scout, and that goal came directly from it. And I think those things always help the players because it gives you a little sense of reassurance and confidence in the game plan. I mean, by all means, if you watch the game, it was a really tough game for us. They had most of the run of play, but I think in fairness to our team and our players, we executed our defending game plan, to a T. I mean, Vieira had an incredible game, and then even though they came back and tied it, there was this belief, and so we just kept pushing through. And then just going back to the things that from the outside looking in, people don't know. When Tenzi scored the winning goal in double overtime, we had determined that, her energy level was starting to drop and she was going to need to be subbed. So we had called for a sub. So we had someone on the line waiting for the opportunity to sub when she scored that brilliant goal. So as much as, we can look back and I can say that everything that has happened over the last 3 years has been intentional and on purpose. There's definitely things that we didn't control, but I think because of our preparation, our hard work, and our commitment to our identity, then this moment of good fortune has happened for us. So, sort of like how they say, we've created a little bit of our own luck.
Former Skyview quarterback and Utah State football walk-on, Ted Stokes has established the #1 bankruptcy law firm in the state of Utah. Stokes Law's playbook is helping individuals and businesses overcome tough financial situations. If you're facing garnishment, repossession, foreclosure, or just overwhelming debt, give Stokes Law a call at 435-213-4771 or visit their website, stokesbankruptcy.com. Stokes Law is a debt relief agency and provides guidance under the United States Bankruptcy Code.
Speaking of creating, something that you've created a theme of is all conference awards. And in every season, you've had a slew of gals enter into the All-League Mountain West. And in that 2021 year, Ashley Cardozo named first team All-Mountain West. Tierra Walton, who was keeper, was named second team All-Mountain West. And redshirt freshman Hattie Simmons was named to the all-newcomer team. That next year, did you feel like you guys had something special built going into that 2022 year? Did you have that feeling?
I didn't have the feeling that we had something special built, but I had the feeling that we were on a way to something special. I knew that we still had a lot of work to do to get closer to what the potential of this group is, and I think we're still on that road. But I knew that we were going to take steps forward. So I was excited. I was excited to return. The vast majority of the players that had played in that 21 season.
Made it to the Mountain West quarterfinals again in the conference tournament. Lost in heartbreaking fashion again for you guys, which I remember that game too. I never seen it. I was watching. I think we were on the road for football actually in that one, and we were all watching on this little phone, and I was devastated for you, coach. But again, you had Kaylee Chambers was great. Alex Day, Kelsey Kafusi, who we would get to know very well here in that 2023 season, was also honored. Addie Simmons, Tenzi Knowles, and Kylie Holton. You guys just had a slew of gals who were coming up really, really big for you guys in that 2022 year to build, or I guess to get you ready for a 2023 year, which was going to be your greatest so far here at Utah State, Coach.
Yeah.
2023, of course, we all want to talk about BYU. I remember I was driving up to the game and I was a little bit late. And there was, I kid you not, both sides of the road were lined up with cars all the way to the main road. There was nowhere to park, zero. And you look on the field and around it, it looks like just like all you see is human beings. And then the field looks so small because of how many people were there to watch.
Yeah.
Were you at all nervous for that game? #1 ranked BYU coming to Chuck and Gloria Bell Field and taking on the Utah State Aggies. Any nerves at all? Or were you just calm as could be?
No, it's weird. Maybe it's naivety on my part, but listen, we work so hard. We put in so many hours in the preparation for every game, that usually by the time the game comes, it's not necessarily that that I don't think the opponent can beat us. Of course, any day, any opponent can beat anyone. But I just, by the time we get to the game, I always feel like, okay, we are ready to put out our best effort, to be the best version of ourselves. And if we can do that, then the outcome is going to be what it needs to be. So I wasn't nervous. I was actually more excited because it's a big game for our players, for our community, for our university, and to have all those people there, it was like a celebration of soccer, right? Utah State's a great place. We have the herd. We have such support from the community. I mean, we see it all the time in football and basketball. So to have that atmosphere at soccer, to me, it just reinforced the fact that, if we do the things we're supposed to do, we are going to get the support from our community, and the Bell Field is going to continue to be a special place to play.
What was it like to watch everybody storm the field after that 1-0 win over BYU?
That was incredible. You see those things on TV all the time. I've never been a part of that before. Not something that I, saw coming. But when it happened, it felt pretty good. It felt pretty good because, again, it was the genuine enthusiasm of our community, campus and just local community for the work our players were doing. So I think it was great for our players to get that, that level of appreciation and validation, so it was nice.
Only second overall win in USU Athletics history over a number one ranked team. That was absolutely awesome. Let's get to the fun stuff here. You guys go to the Mountain West tournament, and every game just seemed to be a dogfight. 15-round knockout fight for every single game. I'm sure you knew it was coming. You defeated Boise State in extra time 1-0 in the semifinals, and then defeated Colorado State 1-0 in the championship match. Not a lot of scoring. There were some great golden opportunities for you guys throughout that game. What do you first remember about the semifinal game against Boise State?
Semifinal game against Boise State. The first half was probably one of the best halves of soccer we've played to that point all season. The first shot they had was in the 44th minute or so, and it was over the goal. So they never had a shot on goal, and the only even attempt was in the last minute of the game, of the half. So which was great. And we created, I want to say, 3 really good chances where we were 1v1 with the goalkeeper. A little disappointed that we, to that point, we hadn't, been able to turn those into goals. But it was feeling pretty good about it. So really, really good half. Going into halftime, we knew that they were likely to make some adjustments because there's no way that they were going to just be happy with how the game was going. So we had a game plan to be able to deal with that. But I was really happy with how that half went.
Can you talk to me just like playing a tough, mentally tough, and almost an emotionally exhausting game like that, and then turn around and play in the championship? What was the girls' mindset? What was your mindset going into that Colorado State match? And did you feel like your guys' game plan was, you were confident enough in it that your girls could go there and compete and go win it?
Well, if I'm completely honest, by the time we got to the tournament, I felt like we were in a really good place in terms of where our emotional control was as a team. We weren't getting too high or too low in moments. So when there were breakdowns, we were able to navigate and bounce back. And when there were good moments, we were able to celebrate and kind of come back and keep our feet on the ground. So by that point in the season, I felt like, going through the tournament games, it was going to take us making a critical error in the moment where an opponent would capitalize on, or if it wasn't for that, we were going to win it. And it worked out that we did have some mistakes. We did have some moments, obviously, a penalty kick in the semifinal game that Pierre was able to save. In the final,
that was big too.
Oh, it was massive, right? But obviously Whitney comes through with a massive moment with a great free kick that gives us the goal. And there were some moments in the final as well that were, potential scoring opportunities for the opponents that we were able to deal with. And then, I always say that, in my opinion, you should only need 1 goal to win. I prefer to score 4 or 5. It's a lot more fun. But if we're doing things right, if you don't concede, you can't lose. And then only need 1 goal to win. It has worked out that way for both of those games.
Coach, you've seen some pretty good teams, been part of some pretty good teams too. but this team in particular, league best .775 GAA, third best in program history, by the way, led, of course, by Kelsey Kafusi, and he posted 10 shutouts. Like, that defense, was that the best defense you've ever seen as a coach? And what was it about that defense that made him so good and so reliable, especially in that Mountain West Conference tournament?
Yeah, I mean, gosh, I've been coaching for so many years, it probably wouldn't be fair to just say they were the absolute best, but they're up there with any of the best defenses that I've had the opportunity to work with or coach. I think that really what it came down to is obviously the quality of the individuals as players and as people, their commitment to who we are and our identity, but also the fact that, we were privileged to have worked with them for 3 seasons. Most of the players were the same. So there was an evolution. They were playing with a level of maturity that really, if I'm honest, by the time we're in the tournament, my coaching in the game was very minimal. It was some adjustments here and there. For the most part, they were prepared to run with it, and it was fun. It was fun because you don't, as a coach, I mean, done it for so many years. Not very often do you get to a place where you can actually do what most coaches always dream to do, which is kind of sit back a little bit and pick your moments because they are in a place where they can navigate it themselves. And I felt like going into the tournament, our job was leading up to the game at a halftime, but during the game, for the most part, the maturity kind of kicked in.
Hey, you looking for something fun to do this summer? How about you go to Bridgeland Adventure Park, located in Garden City, Utah. Bridgeland Adventure Park has all sorts of adventures from ages 2 to 92. A 4-levels ropes course with 73 events, a giant swing, a 450-foot-long zip line, or get on a tube and head down the 350-foot slide. They're also accepting business corporate groups. You and your office want to get out of the daily grind? Sick of staring at your computer for 8 hours a day? Well, bring the company over to Bridgeland Adventure Park. Enjoy some delicious food, a snow cone, a fun time with your coworkers, and lasting memories. Bridgeland Adventure Park is located at 722 South First Light Drive in Garden City, Utah. For more information and questions, go to blap.rocks. That's BLAP.rocks. Tell me about when it hit that you guys won the Mountain West Conference Championship. Tell me about the thing as a head coach for you, starting where you did into where you are now.
Again, I mean, gosh, it was something that is always, part of the desire, but it's a hard thing to do. There's some great teams in this conference. I mean, this year I felt like the 4 teams that were in the tournament were the best 4 teams this year. So it was going to be a tough tournament. Going into it, again, there was always that desire. There was a belief that, that we were ready for it. But again, anything can happen. So to me, it hit that, believe it or not, it actually hit that we would win it when Kate scored. Just because, again, how the season went, how we've defended with such maturity. When we scored, I felt it in my heart that, okay, we got this. So which actually I think it helped me a little bit process it. I'm, if you've been around me long enough, I sometimes can be emotional because I'm so passionate about the game and the people I work with. So actually having, that the extra few minutes to process it by the time the game ended, I was able to, to be happy and celebrate and whatnot and kind of manage my emotions a little bit. But it was exhilarating. Again, I as a coach, is a great accomplishment, but more so to be able to see the joy in the likes of an Addie Simmons, a Kelsey Kafusi, a Kylie Olsen, a Diera, people that have given so much of their time and effort and commitment over the years to Utah State and Utah State soccer to be able to, get that, that tournament, some of them to end on that note. And some of them will obviously have the opportunity to now try to do it again, which obviously there's no guarantees. We'll start from scratch. But yeah, no, it was an amazing feeling. From time to time, I'll look at the trophy and I take a minute to just appreciate it because, now as we go forward, there's no guarantees. We start from point zero. What we did last year means nothing going into this fall.
You looking for the best place to grab yourself a pizza and, of course, entertainment? Look no further than Ruby's Pizzeria and Grill at 795 East, 1400 North. Ruby's Pizzeria and Grill has your salads, delicious pastas, creative pizzas, all that including watching some good games on TV with your buddies. Ruby's Pizzeria and Grill also has a Thursday through Saturday 9 p.m. to midnight menu. That's right, 9 p.m. to midnight, Thursday through Saturday, you get the delectable items. Our producer, Adam Lurcher, and myself went there, while Adam had the chicken fingers. So I had this beautifully made gourmet hot dog with a delicious pretzel bun wrapped around it. Most importantly, Ruby's Pizzeria and Grill has the best customer service. Their employees are there to take good care of you, led by their manager, Thad Willis. So stop by Ruby's Pizzeria and Grill and let them know that the Unequaled podcast sent you there. 795 East, 1400 North in Logan.
I asked Celtic Kafusi on this podcast the same question. She gave me a coach speak answer, almost like you told her, this is how I want you to answer this question. But was it fair that in the NCAA tournament, you had to go play BYU at BYU in the first round matchup?
Oh gosh, sports are never fair, right? So I didn't think of it from that standpoint. I mean, we were just happy to be in it. We were going to play anybody, anywhere. We just wanted to be.
It didn't bother you had to go to BYU after you just beat them?
No, not at all. I mean, again, I was just happy to be in it. Now, honestly, if we're going to think of fairness, on paper, the pressure would have been on BYU, right? If we're really thinking about fairness, they're a number one seed, and in the first round they have to play a team that is a 43 RPI that just beat them. That doesn't sound like a reward for being a number one seed. So, yeah, would I rather play a team that maybe on paper would have been a better matchup for us? I could say yes, but maybe it doesn't work out for us. So for me, we were just happy to be in it. Again, it was a known opponent. It was an opponent that we knew we could compete with, and we did. I mean, if you watched the game, the first 10 minutes, we hit the crossbar. We put a player 1v1 with a goalkeeper in the box. We just were not fortunate. Again, the luck didn't work out for us that day, where if we turn one of those into a goal, maybe the outcome's a little bit different. But I didn't think that playing them was a problem. I actually think our players was excited for it.
When I talked to Tenzi, London, Kelty, and I asked them about their time at Utah State and playing soccer for Utah State, I kid you not, every first thing that comes up is Coach Martins, Coach Martins, Coach Martins. Father figure, example, friend. When you hear that and the way these players speak about you and your relationship, you talked about your relationship with these players. What does that mean to you?
It means the world, right? As much as I say that, I feel very fortunate that I can continue to be involved in the game of soccer. That's something that's been a part of me since I can remember myself. I speak to recruits about this all the time. We are guaranteed 20 games a year, 365 days, 20 games. If that was the only thing that mattered, I feel like we would miss out on so much. One of the things that I take pride in is, and I probably have heard me mention this before, where, at Christmas, I'll get a phone call from someone I coached over 20 years ago. That, to me, is really why I coach college soccer. I mean, soccer itself, I could coach club soccer. I could maybe try to get into the pro game that it's not so much about the relationship and the connection and the people, and it's more just about the X's and O's. And as much as I love the X's and O's, don't get me wrong, the connection with the people is really, really important for me. And I think it's part of our success. I think our environment is such that if you look at the rosters player for player, on paper, some of the teams we play against and have beaten, competed with toe-to-toe, they might have kids that have national team experience and certain accolades that maybe some of our kids don't. But I think our environment helps us get the most out of our kids because they feel valued, they feel, coached, invested in. And I just think they feel safe. In our day and age, we're going through a time in sports where the old school, brutally honest style of coaching is sort of on its way out. I always talk about being empathetically honest. If you're going to coach, you have to be honest. You have to be transparent. You got to be able to address the deficiencies and the areas that need to be better and what needs to be better and hold some high standards. But I think where we separate ourselves maybe from some is that we also empathize with how hard it is to be a student athlete. And we lead with that. We never drop our standards, but our student athletes know that when we're demanding and when we're holding them accountable, we're not overlooking the fact that, we understand this is hard, and maybe you're not going to be at your best every day, and that's okay, but we're always going to push and target getting you there. So I think we have an environment that gets the most out of our players, and maybe that's why they feel good about. And as much as they maybe say Manny, trust me, it's not just Manny. It's Aaron, it's Ashley, it's Michelle, it's Jess, it's Amber, it's, everybody that's involved in the program, Riley, Cherie. But I'm really intentional about that. I want our staff to all speak the same language, to all support them in the same way. And I think we've done a really good job with that.
You signed an extension through 2025, and I would very strongly imagine that extension is going to be offered again to get you to stay a little bit longer in Logan. You've talked so highly about Logan here on this podcast. When you talk to recruits, what do you tell them about Utah State University that you want them to understand about this great university?
No, it's been great. It's been great. Obviously, the results speak for themselves, but I'm really, really happy here. Again, we've been supported to a level that, in athletics, it's easy to promise things, almost like politics, right? When you're coming in, it's easy for people to promise you things, and then do they follow through? And I feel like in the time that I've been here, I've been super supported. Again, I've been given everything I needed to be successful. And I love the fact that our administration has actually been actively working on things that go above and beyond, right? We have everything we need to be successful, but there's some bells and whistles that can help us, go the extra mile, and they're actively working on that. And, I think it's important for recruits to know that. But also just the community. I mean, my kids have been, it's never easy to move around when you're a coach. And, my daughter came here going into her junior year of high school. That's a tough year to move. But now I'm almost three years later, both I have two kids at Utah State, and both had opportunities to go to other schools, and we certainly never make it where you got to go to school where we are. But they both chose to go to Utah State and stay in the community, stay close to us. We have a 13-year-old that, he's loving life at his school and playing sports. It's been fantastic. So we love it here. We're excited not only about the job, but what the community has been to me and my family and how it's embraced us.
Kelsey Kafusi got drafted and is part of the National League Women's Soccer Association, which is really cool to see. When you see Kelsey and what she accomplished here at Utah State, what stood out to you about her, and what was it like to hear her name get called in the draft?
Yeah. Well, Kelsey is someone that, for one, she was really had a really great awareness of her strengths and areas of opportunity. And she always embraced the coaching and was one that always wanted to feed back to get better, and was so driven to be the best version of herself. And to me, it was really impressive to see the growth from, and obviously I didn't coach her first year, but from my first year with her through the end of this season, we saw so much growth, so much evolution. And obviously, it speaks for itself, all the accolades and the things that she's done. But for me, like her attention to detail and her desire to get feedback so she could be the best version of herself was really what stood out the most.
I got to ask you about Ashley being an assistant coach. How did that all come about? And how has it been for her, the transition from being a great player now to being a great assistant coach under you?
Yeah. Well, Ashley, if you know Ashley, she is an incredible spirit. She is someone that has a magnetic personality, super passionate about the game. For those that don't know, Ashley's background is from an Argentinian family. And, and I don't want to stereotype, but if you know anything about soccer in Argentina, they're so passionate about the game. and Ashley definitely got that gene. So she loves the game, and so as a coach, being able to have her for that one season was a blessing, because she was very, very impactful. But I do remember after our last game, when we lost in a Mountain West tournament in Boise, I spent about 10 minutes after the game speaking to her, and one of the things that I said is that I knew that she was going to continue to go on and play and whatnot, but that I knew that eventually, when she was done playing, that she was going to come back and affect the game in a different role, whether it was coaching or going into other roles within the game of soccer. Now, I didn't anticipate that we're going to have her that quickly. She went on to France and played professional there for a season, and then she wanted to complete a master's degree and wanted to make a transition into coaching. And I opened that door very quickly, and it's been great. It's been great. She is not only so passionate about the game, but she's passionate about Utah State, and to me, that's so valuable, because she's an Aggie, and it was great to see her contribute to our first championship ring, right? Which obviously she did everything she could to help us do that as a player. But even though it fell a little bit short then, it was nice to see her earn that as a coach, and looking forward to her contributions as we go forward, because she has definitely grown as a coach and is going to help us a lot this fall.
You talked about recruiting in the state of Utah. I know the portal has made things different now in college athletics, and maybe has pushed back and delayed recruiting in from high school to an extent. Is that the same thing in soccer? Do you feel like, no, when we go out and we want to look for the future Aggies, we also want to look in high school in the state of Utah? Because you're right, the talent here in the state of Utah in soccer is second to none. Are you still attacking gals here in the state of Utah in soccer and recruiting, or do you hit the portal more?
Oh no, 100%. We're always gonna attack the in-state talent, and not just the in-state talent, but the Cache Valley talent. It's one thing I learned when I got here, and this I did not know this, but so Utah has the most kids per capita playing soccer out of any state. Wow. And the Cache Valley or Cache County has the most kids per capita out of any county. So, and that was something I didn't know coming in, but it makes sense, because we have a number of kids currently on the roster who are very good, that are local, and we have some coming that I'm signed already, coming in this fall, coming in 25. So it's really exciting to be in a place where we have so much talent in state. Now, that being said, yes, we're always going to, we have expanded our recruiting footprint. When I first got here, 35 players on a roster, 2 out of state, everyone else from Utah, so about 95% Utah.
Wow.
We now are about 65% Utah, and then we have players from every state on a western region. We have a player from Japan, so we're going to continue to recruit in a way that expands the footprint. So globally, nationally, but never going away from Utah. I think that 60 to 70% margin is always going to be Utah, just because it just makes sense. It'd be silly not to. As far as the transfer portal, we keep an eye on it every day. But just the way I'm wired, again, people are important for me. This maybe sounds like coach speak when people say culture wins championships. I 100% don't believe we would have had any of the success we've had without having the right culture. So I'm very particular as far as who we bring into our programs. I feel like the game has evolved in the women's side to a point where there's so much talent. So identifying, spotting talent, it's not that difficult. For us, we spend a lot of time making sure that the character is right for who we want to be and that fits our identity. Especially now with the NIL and whatnot, we want to support that. That we want to support. We want our players to be able to, to expand their brands, capitalize on it. But we still want people here that value being a student at Utah State, being part of Utah State soccer, believe in our mission, believe in who we are as far as our identity. And then the NIL and those other things are the icing on the cake. And sometimes that's not what it is. Sometimes it's hard to identify that in a portal, right? It's easy to figure out who's a good athlete and who's a good student, not necessarily student, but player. But figuring out the character pieces takes a little bit more time sometimes than you have allotted within the portal windows. So we'll keep looking. We're actually, maybe getting a transfer from the portal this year, but it's never going. I don't see it as ever becoming, our primary source of new talent.
Coach, final question. Women's athletics in college is starting to grow. Caitlin Clark, obviously Angel Reese, and other names. Do you feel like women's sports and college athletics is starting to finally get its due, its stage, and is women's soccer getting that credit that it so rightfully deserves?
Oh, 100%. 100%. I saw it firsthand. I was at Oregon, used to go to women's basketball games, and there was like 200 people in the arena. And then the following year, we get Sabrina.
Yeah.
And we went from showing up just before tip-off and sit right behind the bench and enjoy it to a place where if you don't show up 45 minutes before, you're sitting at the very top, 15,000-seat arena sold out. And we're seeing more and more, right? Sabrina was a unique thing. And now, suddenly, there's 2 or 3 players like her in college basketball going on at the same time. When you look at soccer, I remember when Lindsay Oran skipped college to go play professionally in France. Now you're seeing, Mel Hughes and you see Sophia Smith graduating early, Katarina Macario, and you see some incredible talents now that you're seeing in women's soccer going 1, 2, maybe 3 years, and then they leave because just the sport is growing globally to a point where there's so much more opportunity. The earning potential is actually something that now people can make a living off of, and some can retire in a good situation. So it's growing, and it's definitely trickling down to soccer. That's why we saw 2,000 and plus people at our game against BYU, and our averages are growing. Yes, no, definitely women's sports are here to stay. The growth is definitely happening. And I do believe that a big part of it is just a shift in the mindset of society. You're seeing all over the world women's soccer professionals selling out the big stadiums, like Emirates Stadium for Arsenal. They're selling it out now on not just the big game, just on regular games, which in the past I felt like society, media, sponsors just didn't believe that could happen, so they weren't investing in it. Now we understand that it does happen. Now, even when you think back to, the whole argument about equal pay, where, a lot of the naysayers were saying, well, men's sports bring all the eyeballs and the sponsorships and whatnot. You saw it in tennis years ago where when it was invested in, there's no difference in terms of the attention and what you get from women and men. And now we're seeing it in soccer, right? And what's the difference? Yes, I think that the level of the game is growing. There's more top, athletes. But really, really the biggest shift has been the mindset of society and the people that actually pull the strings. And now I think they're actually realizing that there's untapped potential there from a business standpoint for sponsors and corporations and just organizations that they were missing out on. When you may be putting all the effort into trying to capitalize on 1 or 2 sports as revenue sports, when if you invest, you can get that out of soccer, you can get out of volleyball, women's basketball, you name it. So I think society has shifted, college athletic has shifted, and I think in the next 5 to 10 years, you'll see some really exciting things happen.
Coach, it's I got to tell you, what you've built the culture here at Utah State Soccer is amazing. And I see here in that BYU game, people were bragging about how they were there, and people who weren't there were lying and saying, "Yeah, I was there too." Like, what you've built and what you've created is one of the most amazing things. I cannot tell you how much Aggie Nation appreciates you and what you've done, and we look forward to having you here for a very, very long time. So thank you, Coach. Appreciate you the best.
Thank you. Always a pleasure to chat and an honor to be here. And yes, hoping to be here for many years to come, because I think we're just starting to tap into what we can do here.
It's the Unequaled podcast here at a Boat & Co. Real Estate. Beautiful place, beautiful location, located at 1835 Main Street. You can find Larry, Janice, and Tony here to take care of your real estate needs. Phone number 435-227-6913. Again, if you find Larry in Las Vegas at the Thomas and Mack Center for the Mountain West Men's Basketball Tournament coming up, Danny Sprinkle looking to go win his first Mountain West Championship here coming up this upcoming weekend. Should be fun. If you see Larry and you say, hey, listen to the Unequaled podcast, and they said, if I come to you and shake your hand, you'll give me a gift card, they're going to take care of you. That's right. Larry Bradley will take good care of you, just as he will in real estate business as well. This has been the Unequaled podcast.
Oh, mama, what a tune could get me to feel this way. I think I'll be coming home. It's been such a long time. Oh, I think I might have made one too many a mistake. If you help me find my way, I promise I'll do the same one day.